Well, reaction to the news this morning?
My first reaction was, how did he keep it a secret? Because like all sports, it's a very difficult industry to keep secrets in, and that's a big story. You know, I've known Jeff since he was a teenager with a really bad, thin little mustache, and it's been really a privileged career to be around and see him grow into probably the most important driver our series has ever experienced, because he brought a professionalism and a just kind of an aura that we hadn't seen before. Jeff, you know, he didn't grow up in the South. He was a good-looking guy, well-spoken, articulate. He just knocked down all the stereotypes, and not that that's what a stock car racer was, but that was the stereotype. And you could put Jeff, I mean, he hosted Saturday Night Live. You could put him in a lot of circumstances, and he would represent well. And so I think in that regard, I'm not going to say he's the most important driver ever, but he's in the top 2 or 3.
Safe to say his rise to 4-time champion and the rise of NASCAR to its highest point, that wasn't coincidence, what you're saying.
It's not a coincidence that the sport grew and Jeff's career went on the rise at exactly the same time. Now, which begat which is the question, and I think it's probably just all the circumstances coming together in a sweet spot in time. But he certainly benefited from NASCAR's growth. NASCAR benefited from Jeff's growth and popularity and his manner and style. But trust me when I say, as somebody who's known him well, that there is a fiery, tough guy, hard as nails competitor in there. You don't become a 4-time champ like Jeff and 90 some odd wins without being having that kind of killer attitude when it comes time to drop the flag and go racing. So he's a great guy and carries himself extremely well outside of the car, but in the car, you know, he backed it up better than anybody else. So it's going to be bittersweet to see him run his last 2 races here. And bear in mind, he's only staying full-time. We may see him again many times, I don't know. But we know for this is his last chance to win a NASCAR Sprint Cup championship.
Did you expect it to come this soon, or did you think he had a few more?
He told me a few years ago that he had a very specific plan in mind of when to retire, and that he would stick to it regardless of how his career was going. He wouldn't tell me when and what, so I think he's known this date for some time. So just surprised that he was able to keep it a secret and there were no rumors swirling about. So, but I can also tell you, family guy, he's got a beautiful wife and daughter and son, and he has a horrendously bad back that's been caused and aggravated by racing, getting in and out of the car, simply the wear and tear, but also accidents and things of that nature through the years. So I'm not surprised, but I think I'm like most race fans. I don't care who you pull for. You got to be disappointed to hear that one of the very best of all time is you know, in the 4th quarter, well, maybe the last 2 minutes of his career.
You have not had a chance to talk to him today, I guess, to
No.
get a sense of whether he's going to continue to leave this on his schedule or anything, right?
Oh, he'll be here in 2015 for
But
sure.
Beyond that, and there's not going to be one of the select races he's going to continue to run.
And don't know that that's even the plan. I got to be honest, I've been in meetings all morning long on some unrelated matters, but my assumption is if you look back at Mark Martin, who ran well into his 50s and very competitively, he ran select races here and there and was able to do it in a manner that he could win those races. You know, nobody likes to go out and just, you know, putt along while everybody else is blowing by you after you've been a champion and a great competitor. I think Jeff kind of said, you know, I can ease up on this wear and tear and do the very same kind of thing and still be competitive. Pardon me. So.
He has a little unfinished business, I guess, from last November, so he'll be back here this year.
Pardon me. If you didn't think, no, I'm good. Okay. Thanks, Lewis. If you don't think he's competitive, go back to November on pit road. You know, and Jeff's a little guy in great shape, but he's a little fellow. He doesn't back down from anybody. And was he the antagonist in that situation? Once he got out of the car, he was the antagonist, and you know, he wasn't protected by anything or anybody, and he was not going to let what he felt like was an injustice on the track go with that little justice off the track. And I think that's what fans like about our sport in general. And you know, we kind of say that's unusual for Jeff Gordon, but it's not. I can think of another incident here in turn 2 where he confronted another driver, and I can think of another situation where he confronted one on pit road at Bristol. So, you know, every once in a while you got to stand up for yourself, and the drivers know he's not going to just take it and land down. So, competitive guy. I mean, unbelievably competitive.
Will you have any special events for his Suarez Swan Song set in November?
Yes, we're going to have a race. And no, I'm sorry, I should be serious.
I'm a news guy, you know, you have to be serious with news guys.
Oh, well, you know, it's early, and I'm sure we'll do something. And it also depends on whether he will continue to race in select events in 2016 and beyond, and if we're one of those. I'll be honest, Mark Martin announced his retirement, and then unannounced. Well, in the meantime, we had boots made for him and streets named after him and all kinds of things, and all those things are still sitting in a closet here in my office to present to him, because we never knew if he really was retiring. So you just never know. I suspect we'll see Jeff, I'm guessing we'll see Jeff again down the road after 2015, but perhaps not.
We've seen the 43 come back. We've seen the number 3 just recently come back. Do you think the 24 would resurface again, or is it going to be always his?
His team, when he started his NASCAR career, and when I talk about his team, I'm talking about the people that work for him, investigated what number did not have any history in NASCAR, and they settled on the 24. There was no previous history that had any standing or significance. Certainly that number 24 now has tremendous standing and significance. I would hope that like the number 3 that Dale Earnhardt ran so successfully for so long, I would hope that the 24 would take a hiatus. Maybe Jeff, if he comes back and runs select races here or there, would certainly run the 24. It's the only number he ever ran in his entire career, and that's a rare thing. And then once he finally steps out, for sure, that it just sits on the sidelines for a while, let us appreciate the greatness that was amongst us, and at some point down the road at the appropriate time, perhaps the 24 comes back online.
I know you touched on this, but he wasn't your typical driver. So how did he do it, and why was he so successful?
First, Jeff is incredibly talented. He's just a blessed race car driver with the skills and the competitive fire to do what he does. And so that's one, you know, you can talk the talk, but he was able to deliver. But I think more than that, Jeff was a good-looking guy. He had, you know, he was educated. He was articulate. He was fun. You could talk to Jeff about all kinds of issues, and he was knowledgeable. All those kinds of things, and I think all of that made the whole that is Jeff Gordon, and that in some part alienated some fans. That's why you still, to this day, and I don't get it, you still hear boos every now and then about Jeff, but it certainly opened the door to a lot of folks saying, you know, I've never seen Jeff with grease under his fingernails. You know, he's not using double negatives in his speech. You know, this is an intelligent guy, and he's doesn't have grits in his mouth. He's, you know, this is an interesting fellow, and so they followed him. And I don't know if NASCAR's rise or Jeff's rise, you know, what came first, chicken or egg. I just know that it all happened at the same time, and that was a good thing for everybody in our industry.
And his tires were always inflated, right?
Yeah, you know, or deflated properly. So, yeah.
We're allowed to do that in this sport.
Yeah, you can. That's true. The inflation, the PSI, and a tire has everything to do with how a car works and runs and all. So, yeah, fun stuff.
I have a question for a couple of Can you talk about the one moment that you have stories about Dale Earnhardt Sr. that live with you? What is that one moment that you will never forget about Jeff Gordon?
Jeff made his first NASCAR start in the fall, November of '92, at Atlanta. And at the time, that was just before I started working on Atlanta. Let me start over. Jeff made his first career start in November of '92 at a NASCAR race in Atlanta. And at the time, that was just before I started working on Texas Motor Speedway. And I'm driving from Charlotte, North Carolina to the race in Atlanta. And all of a sudden, I look in my mirror, and there is a guy all over the road in my tail, in my mirror, right on my tail, and he's motioning for me, let's go. And he'd speed up past me, and I'd speed up past him. And it was Jeff, and we raced and played tag all the way from Charlotte to Atlanta for about 4.5 hours. Jeff doesn't drive cars to racetracks anymore. He has a jet and lives in New York City and all those kind of things. But it's good to have had a friendship that you got stories like that. We used to run into each other all the time at a little Japanese steakhouse in Harrisburg, North Carolina. And I think every time I was in there, he was in there. So maybe he ate there every night. I don't know. But, just knowing the teenage Jeff and seeing this growth and this rise and success is really a big part of my career. So, because it's, I was around the sport for 12 or 13 years before he came along, but it's been a long 20 some odd years.
And you were at Charlotte Motor Speedway when he made his first start in what was then the Busch Series. Do you recall any of that? He had actually crashed out of to qualify in the race.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I do remember Jeff's first Busch Series win. It was in Atlanta, 90 or 91, and I came upon Jeff. I'm walking down pit road to leave to go to my car, and there's Jeff, and he was standing there and didn't quite know what to do or what to say, and asked me, Eddie, do you want my hat from Victory Lane, first win? He took it off, and it was a Baby Ruth hat, sponsored the car, and he autographed the bill of it and gave it to me, and I kicked myself for, I have no idea where that hat is now. But he felt so out of place, and he was just looking for some familiar face that he knew to talk to and visit with, and I congratulated him and all like that. But that was so the other side of Jeff at the very beginning, before he knew anybody in this sport, and that was it's kind of cool to recollect. I'd forgotten that one until you brought that